Will nobody think of the children?
Book drama.
There were two bits of children's literature related news this week that I have to admit just made me laugh. The first one is that Spitting Image is being sued by Studio Canal and the Michael Bond estate over a satirical depiction of Paddington Bear. If you live outside Britain, Spitting Image is a comedy show that uses puppets and makes fun of celebrities. They'll have puppets depicting the royal family or prominent politicians, or in this case, a beloved literary figure. The show has satirized Paddington Bear by turning him into this scary, wild-eyed bear with a heavy Latin accent and who is using, let's say, recreational substances. Kids, if you see any of those images, that's powdered sugar, because we all know Paddington's got a sweet tooth, right? It's funny because every now and then people assume that someone like me would be really offended by something like this, but absolutely not, because I'm very much in favor of free speech, free expression, and satire is a crucially important way to speak truth to power and get people thinking through humor. Spitting Image is a show for grown-ups. It's obviously satirical, and in America, a court case like this just would have been laughed right out of the courts. It wouldn't have gone anywhere. It's harder to say what'll happen here in Britain because they don't really have free speech here. Free speech is just kind of whatever the people in power decide it is, and it is kind of an alarming situation. But even then, I really don't see how this court case can go anywhere because there's no way that they're materially damaging the intellectual property of Paddington. This is obviously a joke, it's obviously satire, and there is no way that you can confuse this psychotic, drugged-out bear with a heavy Latino accent, which is hilarious, by the way. There's no way you can confuse that with the real Paddington Bear character. Also, by doing this, I think that the Michael Bond estate and Studio Canal look like they're thin-skinned and they have no sense of humor and they can't laugh at themselves. The best thing to do is if they didn't like it, they should have just ignored this and it would have gone away. But now they look like a bunch of crybabies who can't take a joke that clearly has nothing to do with the beloved children's books. The other bit of kid-lit controversy actually affected us right here in my own home. I guess there's these books that are called Spy Dogs, Spy Pups, and Spy Cats by an author called Andrew Cope. I've never heard of this series. It looks fine. It looks fun. It just looks like one of those serialized books that kids can burn through and just enjoy a bit of light reading. But so the books had a website printed on the back that until recently was maintained as a marketing website. And then somebody must have let the domain lapse because that website then got snapped up by a spicy content website, we'll say. If there's any kids in the room, kids, there's lots of cayenne pepper and habanero sauce on these websites, and that's too spicy for kids, so you don't need to check it out. The funny part was getting emails from both of my kids' schools and just watching how the schools were just completely freaking out. They're like, don't worry, we're doing everything we can to remove these books from the shelves. And if any of your kids have them, please bring them back to the library. Really, let's be honest, this isn't that different from the situation last year where there were those Wicked dolls from the Wicked movie. They had a website printed on the back, which was logical to think of if you were thinking of this film, but which again led to a very spicy website, lots of chili on the corn. We'll just say that. The thing is, though, there's absolutely no evidence that any children have accessed any of these sites. Kids do not look at the marketing material printed on the back of a book and then go,
oh yeah, I want to go to some corporate marketing website.
The risk of children accessing these sites is very, very low. And once again, I feel like the mass freakout almost draws attention to it. Of course, you need to do something to make sure that kids don't see the website. There might be that 1 in a million kid that's like,
oh yeah, I want to check that out.
But you can fix this problem really fast with a Sharpie. Just grab the book, get the Sharpie, maybe scratch up the part on the cover a little bit that, so that it won't show through. Rub the Sharpie on the no website.
Phrasing?
And then you're fine. Or just put a sticker over it or something. Schools usually have to have something so they can stamp due dates or mark it as the property of the school. Just cover the website. Problem solved. I mean, I do think you do need to inform parents in some way, but there was clearly this hysterical freakout that probably had a lot more to do with schools not wanting to get sued or not wanting to have angry parents showing up going, how could you do this? But I think once again, as with this Paddington thing, by freaking out so much, all you're doing is drawing attention to it. So maybe when something like this inevitably happens because domains lapse and then sketchy third parties will snap up those URLs, when these things happen, maybe what you need to just do is fix it as quickly as you can and then just be a little less hysterical in the way you reach out to families. Because, like, I just thought it was super funny. Again, I didn't have to worry about this because my kids didn't have the books, but still, like, calm down. Everything's going to be fine. So that's the silly news this week in the world of children's literature. If you'd like more news updates, let me know. And thanks for listening.